first time going on a Carnival Cruise? Well, trust me, you're going to want to stick around and listen to the 8 things that you definitely need to know before you go on your first cruise. Stay tuned. Hello world, and welcome back to Meg's Minutes. I am so excited to be talking to you today about the 8 things that you're definitely going to want to know before you go on your first cruise. Cruises are super exciting. It's a great place to mingle, meet people, see beautiful places, and definitely eat. So let's jump right in. The first thing that you need to know before you go on your first cruise is that you should probably check in online. Trust me, it makes things so much smoother where you don't have to wait in line, especially when you're checking in the first day at the port. You can just go right through the line, makes things super duper easy. The only thing about checking in online is when you check in online, you have to make sure that everybody that's in your suite with you is also ready to check in. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do it. The second thing that you need to know before you go on your first cruise is that you really should read all the stipulations online about checking in and what you can and cannot bring before you get to the cruise, before you get to the port. The biggest reason why you're going to want to do that is because when you are checking in, they do scan your luggage, the little x-ray machine or whatever it's called. And if there's things that you have packed, then they're going to have to pull you off to the side, check through your luggage manually, and take out anything that is not allowed. Trust me, I know from experience, you don't want to have to go through this. It's already kind of like a lot of people there, and it's really stressful. So make sure you're paying attention to what you can and cannot bring so you don't get stuck in a situation like that. The third thing that you need to know before you go on your first cruise is that they do require a deposit, kind of like how hotels require a deposit for any incidentals. Now, the amount of the deposit depends on the length of the cruise. Now, I went on a 7-day cruise and they required like a $200 deposit. And trust me, that $200, oh my gosh, we went through it so quickly because things do tend to get expensive on the ship. So make sure that before you go, in addition to whatever the cruise costs, that you actually have enough money to cover the deposit as well. Number 4, you can't actually pay for cash for anything on the ship. So, I mean, it's always good to bring cash for when you get off on land and you want to go buy souvenirs and stuff. But anything that you have that you want to pay for, they're going to give you a card. And the card looks something similar to this. It may be a different color depending on the number of cruises that you've taken, but last year for the first cruise, it is this blue color. And everything, all your transactions are going to go through here. And so, yes, it's always good to have cash, but just know and understand that they don't actually accept cash when you're trying to buy things on the ship. So keep that in mind. The 5th thing that you need to know is that the only thing that's on the ship that is actually complimentary is the food. Now, that is to a certain extent because before 2019, even room service was complimentary, but they've made changes that took effect January this year. Of course, 2019, that does affect that. Room service is no longer free. So just be cognizant that when they come up to you and they offer you drinks or they offer this or they offer that, they may not come out and say immediately that they're actually charging for it. However, trust me, it ain't free. It is what it is. The only thing that's complimentary, and not even, there's other stuff. There are like a few other places that you have to pay extra for food, but it's few and far in between. And trust me, there's so much food on board, you're not going to even want to bother to pay for any of the other food that's on board. The 6th thing that you need to know before you go on your first cruise is that in addition to the deposit, in addition to what you actually paid to go on the cruise, they do charge gratuity on the last night of your cruise. And on top of charging gratuity, they charge it on every single account. So I had my account, but I also had set up so my kids could have money on their account if I wasn't around. And they put gratuity on all four accounts. Now, I don't mind paying tips and gratuity, but I think the amount that they put was a bit excessive. I think it was like $75 on all four for all four of us. So you're talking an extra, close to $250, $300 just in gratuity, which I was like, this is ridiculous. The good thing is, however, you can get that gratuity taken off. So the way that you do this is you're going to have to go to customer service, and usually the lines get long, and the earlier that you can do this, the sooner the better. So you actually have to go to customer service and tell them that you want it taken off, which accounts you want it taken off, and how much you want taken off. So if you do actually want to pay a little bit more, then that's fine. Just let them know. Or if you don't want to pay the extra gratuity at all, just make sure you let them know, take it off all of my accounts. But you only can do that in person at the little customer service desk on the ship. Otherwise, it's going to stay. The seventh thing that you need to know before you go on your first cruise is that they will frequently have bottles and bottles and bottles of alcohol for sale on the ship, or of course you're going to be tempted to buy bottles of alcohol once you get to the ports, especially because they advertise them for tax-free. They're really not that much cheaper than they're really not that much cheaper than the alcohol that's sold in the States. A lot of it just tends to be tax-free depending on where you go. But what they don't tell you is that although you can bring the alcohol back on the ship, or if you buy the bottles of alcohol that are on the ship, you cannot actually take it to your room. They will hold it until the end of the cruise, and then they'll give it back to you. They'll deliver it to your room, or whatever the case is. Of course, this is a strategy in order for them to actually make more money, because hey, if you don't have the alcohol to buy, then you actually have to pay for the drinks that they serve on the ship. So just keep that in mind. You can go ahead and buy all the alcohol you want to. You just won't be able to have it in your room, which is definitely a bummer. The eighth and final thing that you need to know before you go on your first cruise is that you do not actually need a passport. Now, the passport is highly, highly recommended. However, you don't actually need it. Now, I got passports for me and my kids because I intend to do more traveling than just going on a cruise, and passports for adults last for 10 years, for kids last for 5 years. However, when you do go on a cruise, you don't actually need a passport. I think you just need your birth certificate. And they don't even recommend you taking your passport off the boat when you go to the ports. Now, I'm up in the air about that, because if you get left by the boat and your passport is on the boat and you have no other identification except for maybe your driver's license, getting back to the United States is not going to be fun, and it's not going to be easy. They don't recommend that you actually take your passport, though, because they're like, okay, well, what if your stuff gets stolen, then your identity is out there and somebody could steal your identity. Now, that, of course, is a decision that is up to you. I did not actually bring my passport. I just brought my identification, my driver's license, and these little things. A lot of times, most people anyway stay among the major tourist areas. And so if you're definitely going to stay among the major tourist areas, you probably have no worries in the world. So I hope that these 8 things that you need to know before you go on your first cruise helps you enjoy your cruise. Comment below where you are taking your next cruise to. And until next time, peace. Wait, don't go. Bonus tip. When you are going on your cruise, try to make sure you buy something that's unique that you can't actually get in the States or you've never seen before, such as this shirt. This shirt I thought was so cool. If you were paying attention to my shirt at all throughout the video, you would notice that it was all white except for the little glittery spots. But when we were in Mexico, I got this shirt because there's certain parts that interact with the UV rays of the sunlight, and then it starts to turn colors. Isn't that great? I thought that was so cool. Sorry, just had to share one more with you guys.